Hello, Internet. So I guess enough people watched my last video to convince me to do another one for this week. Not sure how long this will keep up, though I tend to lose interest in things pretty quick. I also noticed I kind of went out of my way to be a bit more earnest and even-handed than I usually am. I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing. Usually I can get off on making fun of Sarah Palin or Christine O'Donnell or Rick Perry or Michelle Bachmann or Herman Cain or whoever the hell the GOP are pinning their tattered hopes on this week. I don't know, maybe I'll get more views that way. Anyway, this week I want to talk about something a bit more serious. I want to talk about war and anti-war movements, or at least the thoughts behind them. I know there's a lot of strong opinions on the topic, especially in my age group, so I'm going to open with three very blunt claims, which I do follow in everyday political debate. 1. Armed force is the only effective way of keeping the international peace. 2. That being said, there are no such things as just wars. And 3. That a nation at war is allowed any means at its disposal to achieve victory. Okay, first of all, let's get one thing straight. I'm a realist. I believe that international law cannot maintain the peace unless it is enforced by a state or a group of states both willing and able to crack down hard on those willing to violate the peace, in which case said law is really just an extension of those enforcer nations' foreign policies. We're going back to the universal motif of fear here. Just as people follow the law because it's enforced by men and women with guns, nations will only follow international law under threat of force. It isn't a pretty scenario. It's not exactly an optimistic one either. It means that the strongest state sets the terms, but for the moment I can't really see any better alternatives here. Secondly, the idea of a just war is an impossibility. Justice doesn't exist on the international level because those who invoke it do it subjectively, and justice is a universal thing. What can be considered righteous to one government could be criminal to another. Justice demands itself to be objective and universal. States are neither. To have a truly just war, both sides must agree that one side is in the right, and that doesn't happen, ever. Necessity, on the other hand, is subjective. I walk up to some homeless guy on the street who needs money to get food, to, actually live. I counterpoint that with my need to have money to pay my tuition, to pay my rent, so I don't become homeless. To me, my needs are greater than his, but they're both valid needs. I'm saying this only out of self-interest, not because I hate homeless people or anything. Right, that digression aside. Necessity is entirely one-sided. When a state weighs the potential loss of fighting with the potential loss of not fighting and finds the latter to be more damaging than the former, then that state can claim a necessary war. But wait, you ask, what's to stop a military power from declaring war indiscriminately so long as they come out favorably in some grand utilitarian equation? Well, that's kind of where point 3 comes in. The Western world seems to be both dangerously in love with and absolutely terrified of war. Remember that huge popularity spike that George W. Bush got after invading Iraq? That happened because we had this strange delusion that all the money we spend on weapons, equipment, and training mean that we can fight quick, clean, and victorious wars. That might have been true once when wars were fought between legitimate states, but the First World no longer has any effective challengers in that category. War is no longer about attacking military targets. It's about attacking a people's will to fight. There's no way to win an asymmetric war, that is, a war between a state and a non-state organization, like, for example, say, insurgents in Iraq. There's no way to win that kind of war cleanly. Anybody who tries will either end up resorting to baser means, as we've seen all throughout history. Take, for example, the British in the Boer War, who only won when they started setting up concentration camps. Yes, this happened. Or they fail, like the Soviets in Afghanistan or the Americans in Vietnam. When we recognize that there's a simple near certainty in modern warfare that asymmetric wars can only be won by people and states willing to fight dirty. When we who are so detached from this sort of thing wake up and realize the kind of loss that any modern conflict entails, that's when we'll learn to approach war as we should, as a long, hard, and very ugly mass event which should be only considered as a final or near-final option. Right. Obligatory disclaimer, these are my personal views. If you disagree with them, feel free to comment so. Feel free to like or dislike or recommend this to your friends, or, I don't know, call down your friends to spam my email with hate mail, because I don't read that stuff anyways. Well, anyways. That's all. Good evening.